It doesn't matter if you are a man, woman, or child. I think that learning how to sew, even the most basic sewing, is a very, very important life skill. I'm going to use these jeans as an example today on how to do basic sewing. On one side, you can see that I can just easily sew it shut, so I'll be showing you how I do that. On the other side, the rip is just a little bit too frayed for me to be able just to pinch it shut without there being some weird bunching of the fabric. So I'll show you how to patch that on that side. Now, the first question you might have is, are you really wearing socks with sandals? And the answer to that is yes. I did not actually realize my feet would be showing, but we march to the beat of our own drum on this channel now, don't we? So the first side we're going to start with is this more simple side where the hole is just really easy to patch up. You are going to take your jeans, or whether it's in the pocket of your jeans. I know somebody did mention that they have rips in the ooh, there's something in there. What treasure did he put? Aw, he's holding on to his little snail shell. This is the son who finds treasures and he just holds on to them, adores them. So isn't that a beautiful one too? All right. But like I was saying, this applies as well to if you have a rip in the pocket of your jeans, you could patch over it, or if the rip hasn't frayed the fabric too much, then you can just stitch it closed. So you want to turn it inside out. And isn't it funny that right where the knee is reinforced, the rip is right above that? I did not do this. The jeans came like that. You get a needle and thread, you thread your needle. And a tip on tying a knot is you could, let's try to keep it in frame here, you could tie it around and then pull it, or you could take it and twist it around time and time again until you get a pretty good twist there, and pull it tight. And then you have, let's see, then you have a good size knot there, but we're gonna make it a little bit beefier just so it doesn't pull through the fabric of the jeans. If your knot is too small, it'll just pull through the fabric, so then you'll just have to go back and tie it again. You also don't want your thread to be too long, because then when you pull your thread through, it'll actually tangle on all that extra thread you have. So don't make it too awfully long. And if you are anything like me, you don't want to waste time pinning anything. And it's not here to be pretty, it's here to be functional. I am pinching the fabric together. And then I'm just gonna sew a stitch connecting the two pieces all the way along. You want to go ahead and you put your needle through, pull, and the most easy way to do it is just do that again and again. Pull it through. And that's what I'm going to do all the way down. And don't worry if yours looks just as mangled and wonky as mine does. This is not for looks, this is for functionality. As you get to the end, you're going to be tying your final knots so that you can secure your stitches. So as you can see, I have it through the jeans and I have yet to pull the needle all the way through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the needle through and I'm going to circle around and tie it through that little loop I just made. And that makes a knot. From the inside, again, it's not a fashion show here. It's going to be a little bit bunched up, especially if you do what I did and make a mistake and grab too much fabric here at the front. From the outside, it is visible, but the hole is not going to get any bigger as of right now. And ultimately, that really is the goal. Now, the other side is a little bit more involved. We are going to be taking fabric and using it as a patch to cover up that hole. We still do want to bring the hole closer together, but we can't bring this frayed part way up here to meet the intact fabric way down here, because it's gonna pucker the knee way too much and look kind of wonky and weird. I'm going to cut off all the little frayed bits so that they don't get in my way. I'm going to use 100% cotton canvas for this, but you really could do, if you wanted to, you know, maybe more for the ladies, if you wanted to do something decorative that could show on the outside, you could. But I want to reinforce the knee with a lot of durability so that my son doesn't rip through the knees anytime soon. Now, just like the other side where we sewed together the parts of the fabric that could come together, we're going to do the same thing here, but we're going to leave that whole area open. Now, already I can tell that this is going to be better than the other knee I did because I admittedly was being a little bit more careful, but you are going to do the same thing. Finish up this little side right here, right where the fabric starts to fray out. You want to go ahead and just close up the side that you can get together. Also, a really quick tip, try not to accidentally grab the fabric that's behind there, especially when you're kind of in a tight corner like a seam line right here. Now that I've got the sides of the fabric joined together that can be joined together, you can see that there's a little bit more order to the mess here, and I'm going to cut my patch to fit so that when I sew it on, it covers it enough but not too much. I'm left-handed, but I use my right hand for cutting scissors because their kindergarten does not give you left-handed scissors. Isn't that weird? All right, essentially, you're just going to be stitching it in a rectangle just to cover up that hole that you'll be able to see on the outside. I'll be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing. I have done this before, but anytime a customer would ask me, hey, can you do this thing? Sew this custom thing for me? I'd be like, sure, of course. And then right after that interaction, I'd be Googling how to sew this thing. I don't know if it's fake it till you make it or learn as you go. I think it's nicer to say learn as you go. And you know, I've learned to sew a lot of things that way. So that's what I would recommend. Just have confidence, and especially if you're getting paid for it, as long as you do a good job and you have integrity with your work, you'll do just fine. I'm gonna start in a corner, poke it through. Try not to poke it through all the way to the other side like that. Go. Be careful of your fingers. I have the very first stitch in, but this is actually going to be, instead of over and over and over like we did when we pinched the sides together right here and we went around and around and around, we're actually going to be trying to make that stitching, it's called a straight stitch on a sewing machine. We're going to be trying to mimic that all the way in a roughly symmetrical rectangle. Okay, now at this point you may be wondering, why am I sewing my clothes? I can just be naked anyway. Who needs this? This is for the birds. Now I would agree with you, but do not fret, because there's another way to stitch. If you can't get inside and out of the pants of the legs, you can always go down and up. My needle fell out, hold on. And then just keep on doing that all the way down, because guess what? We're not making it pretty. We're making it, say it with me, functional. Yeah, that's way easier than the other way I was. And the other way is fine too, if you could actually fit your hand with the needle without stabbing the dickens out of your hands. Pull that through. Well, isn't that satisfying? So much easier. And then just try not to let it get too bunched up. Now, once you do one side, don't go around and do a whole rectangle. You're gonna tie a knot down this one side and then do the other side. So that way you can be sure that it's laying nice and flat before you finish it off on the short ends. So I am going to tie a knot right here, just a really small knot just to secure this side. And then I'll be moving on to the other side of the rectangle, the long side of the rectangle. Another quick tip I wanted to share with you, if you have any kind of a plastic thing you can slip in between the two layers of fabric instead of your hand, that plastic thing will help to keep your needle from puncturing through to the other side. But I honestly can't think of anything. Maybe a piece of bark. I don't know. Let's be one with nature and try a piece of bark here. Moment of truth, does it work? Ooh, not bad. Okay, grab a piece of bark, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and sew up these sides and then we'll see what it looks like. Okay, definitely not pretty stitches, but you can see how big of a hole that actually is. I did connect this side right here. That looks way better than the other side, mainly because I tried harder. So this one is more puckered. If I would have been a little bit more cautious, I actually could have gotten this look right here, but that's okay. And then I also hand stitched this side, and where it was a little bit too frayed and torn apart, that's where the patch pokes through. All right, we've got our jeans all done. That pucker is gonna bother me. That's what I get for knowing that I grabbed too much fabric and carrying on anyway. But especially if, you know, who's gonna be staring at your knees, you know, looking like, ah, you know, unless you have a really nosy child who wants to point out that your stitching isn't perfect. But who wants kids like that around anyway? Mind your business, kid. It is good enough, especially this is kind of a cool look anyway. Don't they sell jeans, not like that, but don't they sell jeans that intentionally are all, I know they sell them all ripped apart so that you can see skin through them, but pretty sure that they sell jeans specifically with the look that it's been patched. Fashion trends, this world is crazy. But you did it. You made it through a mediocre hand stitching tutorial, and really you have the basics now. You have the basics of threading, and well, you know how to thread a needle. You did that on your own, but you have the basics of tying an easy knot, not making the thread too long. What else? We know bark works as sewing equipment now. That makes me smile. I like that. That worked way better than I thought that it would. You got a couple of different techniques on how to join fabric together. And like I said, the same process goes for if you have a hole in the pocket. It's the whole idea of just make sure whatever you join together can be laid flat, and whatever needs to be patched, that you just lay it out flat, grab your piece of bark, and get to stitching.